Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, if you've been following the tournament, you already know the absolutely thrilling, heart-stopping news that just came across the wire. Switzerland just secured a dramatic penalty shootout victory over Colombia to advance to the 2026 World Cup quarterfinals. I mean, what a massive moment for the Swiss squad. But for those of us tracking the data and the history, this victory isn't just some sudden stroke of luck. No way. It's literally the culmination of decades of strategic evolution. Which brings us to a really fascinating question. How exactly did a team, one that's historically been completely overshadowed by neighboring European titans like Germany, Italy, and France, evolve into the modern game's ultimate giant slayer? Well, throughout this explainer, we're going to trace their incredible climb. We'll go from their early 20th century contenders to an unbreakable defensive powerhouse right up to their current dominant form. Section 1. Early peaks, Olympic silver, and home soil. Okay, let's dive into this timeline. The Swiss national team, affectionately known as the Nati, actually has some incredibly deep foundational roots of international success. We're talking a century ago, they were making serious waves on the global stage. It kicked off with their best ever result at an official football competition, securing the silver medal at the 1924 Paris Olympic Games. And they built a solid World Cup pedigree early on too, reaching the quarterfinals in 1934 by beating the Netherlands, and again in 1938 by overcoming Germany. Then, fast forward to 1954, they actually hosted the World Cup on home soil and once again battled their way right into the quarterfinals. But here's the funny thing about that 1954 quarterfinal run. It ended in a way that is profoundly ironic when you consider what the team is famous for today. Austria scored 7 goals and Switzerland scored 5. Yeah, you heard that right. Switzerland lost 7-5 in this wildly chaotic shootout of a game. In fact, to this very day, it still stands as the highest scoring match in World Cup history. It's just a really fun, chaotic contrast to the highly disciplined, lockdown identity they'd eventually adopt.
Section 2. The unbreakable Swiss defense.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer scale of this number. Moving into the 2000s, the team fundamentally shifted its identity. 559. That number represents a staggering 559 consecutive minutes of World Cup football where the Swiss national team did not concede a single goal. Not one. This streak actually beat the previous record held by the notoriously defensive Italian national team, and it wasn't broken until the 75th minute of a 2010 match against Chile. It's honestly mind-blowing.
And this defensive mastery, it created some incredibly unique tournament drama. Take the 2006 World Cup, for example. They were eliminated in the round of 16 by Ukraine on a penalty shootout. Yet, and this is the wild part, they conceded 0 goals in the entire tournament. They packed their bags and went home without ever letting a single ball pass their keeper in regular play. They remain the only team in World Cup history to be eliminated under those bizarre circumstances.
Section 3. Building the modern eras.
Now, this incredible defensive foundation and the attacking flair we see today, well, it didn't happen overnight. It was methodically constructed over decades. Looking at the timeline here, we can see the stepping stones. Starting in 1992, English manager Roy Hodgson successfully ended a massive 26-year tournament drought, elevating the Swiss to 3rd in the FIFA World Rankings. Quite the turnaround, right? From there, we see steady structural builds through the Kobe Kuhn era in the 2000s, the defensive discipline of the Ottmar Hitzfeld era, transitioning right into the Vladimir Petkovic era, and finally leading up to the current manager, Murat Yakin.
Section 4. Giant Slayers at the Euros. And this brilliantly illustrates our giant slayer motif. Under Petkovic and Yakin, the team combined their historical grit with an absolute refusal to be intimidated by global titans. I mean, just think back to the 2010 World Cup. They handed the eventual champions Spain a shocking 1-0 defeat. Then at Euro 2020, they outright eliminated the reigning world champions France. And just to prove it wasn't a fluke, at Euro 2024, they eliminated the reigning European champions Italy. The Swiss are no longer just showing up to defend, guys. They are actively hunting champions. As for a turning point, it has to be that Euro 2020 victory over France. As the quote says, it was their first knockout phase win in a major tournament since the 1938 World Cup. To achieve that by overcoming a 3-1 second-half deficit against a literal powerhouse and then winning in a tense penalty shootout, that fundamentally changed the squad's psychology. It proved once and for all that they belong in the deep, dangerous waters of major tournaments. Section 5. The Yakin era today. So the crucial point on this table is the dominance. Current manager Murat Yakin has completely capitalized on this momentum.
Just look at their late 2025 World Cup qualifiers. A 4-0 thrashing of Kosovo, a crisp 3-0 clean sheet against Slovenia, and 2 commanding victories over Sweden. They've perfectly mixed their historic defensive solidity with a potent, newly refined attacking firepower, led by guys like Brelin Bolo, Den Ndoye, and of course Captain Granit Xhaka. Basically, they aren't just surviving games anymore, they are dictating them. And that brings us full circle to today. Their dramatic penalty shootout victory over Colombia to reach the 2026 World Cup quarterfinals is truly the culmination of an era. It's like a giant puzzle where all the dots connect perfectly. The early pedigree of the 1920s and 30s, the unbreakable defensive tactics of the 2000s, and that fearless, giant-slaying mentality developed over the last decade. It is all perfectly aligned under Murat Yakin. So, I want to leave you with this question to ponder as we look ahead to their next match. With a history of shattering defensive records, surviving tense penalty shootouts, and toppling the biggest champions in the sport, can the Swiss finally break past this quarterfinal ceiling they've hit so many times before and actually win the whole shebang? It's an absolutely incredible underdog story, and you know the world will definitely be watching to find out. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and hey, enjoy the rest of the tournament.